And welcome back to Goodnight Gladesville on 2RRR, and tonight we have one of Australia's foremost singer-songwriters of the last 20 years. He has had top 10 hits in Australia and around the world. He's performed in front of thousands, been nominated for and won multiple awards, and in the 90s was an even bigger pop star than Peter Andre. He's currently on national tour with his album. He's just come straight from appearing live on national television, but he's about to reach the pinnacle of his career by appearing on Goodnight Gladesville here at 2RRR. So please put your hands together as we roll out the red carpet for Mr. Rick Price. Welcome to Goodnight Gladesville.
Yeah.
It's good to have you on. How are you, Rick?
I'm awesome. Doing good.
Excellent.
Doing good.
So you're currently on tour with the new album. It's called The Water's Edge, and the single from that is "I'm Coming Home."
That's correct. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So thanks for coming on to talk about that with us this morning.
Pleasure.
And you're going to perform a couple of songs for us as well, which is a bit of a treat for us too. So we're going to talk about the album in a moment, and the single "I'm Coming Home." But first of all, I should mention there's usually two of us here on this show. My co-host Geoff had to have an emergency doctor's appointment this morning.
Is he okay?
He's going to be okay, I think, but he's very disappointed because he was going to come in and he was really looking forward to being part of the show today. But hopefully he's going to be all right. But he couldn't get out of that. But he told me this morning. He said, "Now, the first thing you've got to ask him is because obviously yesterday we sat down, we were having a look through at some of the things that you did in the past." And we're looking at some of your old clips, and he said the first thing you got to ask him is what back in the 90s, what was going on with your hair, and more importantly, where is that hairstyle gone? Why don't we see that like the Michael Bolton look anymore?
Let's see. Where do I begin with such a question? Let me see. The hair has been removed and cut off about 20 years ago.
Oh, right. So it's long gone.
That's that.
Yes.
And what was the other part of the question? Was there a story attached to the hair or something you said?
No, well, it was such a iconic 90s look that you had back then and you don't see that anymore.
I see lots of guys with long hair.
The long hair like that?
Sure.
It was great. And those clips that you did back then were they were a little bit raunchy, a couple of them there with the Not a Day Goes By.
A bit of nudity involved.
Yes. And a bit of the ghost pottery going on. I remember that as well.
That was my very first film clip. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It must have been a big time for you, but we'll get to that in a minute. Because first of all, we want to sort of go back to where it all began. Now, I believe you were born and grew up in Queensland.
Yes.
How did your career get started up there?
I grew up in a musical family. So my brother and my sister and uncles and aunties, they're all singers, musicians, and self-taught musicians. But the beauty of growing up in that little country town was surrounding the whole area where there were a lot of small farming communities, and they all had their own community hall. These were like old wooden shacks with tin roofs, and we used to play at these places at the weekend, and Friday and Saturday night.
Bow Desert in Queensland?
Bow Desert,
yeah. Right, yeah.
It's about an hour southwest of Brisbane.
Yep.
And so that's how I got my start in music. Okay,
right. And then at the age of 18, I believe, you headed down to Sydney and tried your luck down in the big city of Sydney.
I did, yeah. 18. I got in my little Datsun 1600 and drove to Sydney.
Yep.
And slept on couches and stuff for a while until I got,
Was that daunting at the beginning?
It was a little bit, but when you're that age, everything's new in a way, So I just thought, well, whatever. I had gone from sort of living with my parents and then, briefly flatting with some bandmates. So, I realized that, well, I have no idea what's going to happen here, So I'll just crash on some people's couches till I get some gigs. And I started to get gigs and was able to, pay my own rent. And the story sort of started from there. And it was a really good move for me because I got to, work with some really good people and I learned a lot, early. And
I guess at that age you can kind of just take it as it comes, see what happens, and you can always go home or do something else, can't you? But
I mean,
you can give it a shot at that.
Yeah, you're at zero,
so
you've got absolutely nothing to lose. I didn't have anything to lose. Okay. Only things to gain, life experience and so on. Yep.
So then, of course, this is what everybody remembers. Moving on to the year 1992, that was a big year for you. You hit the big time, I guess, with the song "Not a Day Goes By" and the album of "Heaven Knows." it all seemed to happen for you that year. I was reading through some of the things that went on for you that year, and I found it hard to imagine how one person could do that much in the space of a single year in 12 months. It all seemed to happen for you almost instantly, did it, with the release of that album?
It did. It was great. I had a good team of people behind me, and I had a lot of success at radio right across the board, and that helped. Yep. It was a huge help for me to get my career started.
Okay.
So I'm very grateful for all those people that kind of assisted me through. But yeah, it's a busy time when your record takes off. Then boom, everyone wants to talk to you, and everyone wants to do interviews, and you've got to do a lot of television and promotional stuff. So I was touring all over the world promoting my record, and so even though it's a magic time, it was pretty challenging.
So obviously that was a big time. Everybody knew who you were, but since then you've gone on to do some other things. I think you were saying earlier you're now living in the United States, and you're doing a lot more writing and producing as well. Is this
I do some producing, and I write not only for my own projects, but I write for other people as well.
Yep.
So that's good. It's good to be doing. I love that. As long as I'm engaged in music in some way, I'm happy. I'm pretty easy to please.
Yep.
If I've got a guitar in my hand, and then that's a pretty good start. So I get to mix it up quite a lot.
Okay. And I saw that you've done some tributes over the years as well. You performed a song that I really like, the Tenterfield Saddler, from Peter Allen, as a tribute to him. That's I really like that song. It's a great great song.
Great song written by a great songwriter in the mid '90s, sometime early '90s. I performed it at the ARIA Awards. They asked me, would I do a Peter Allen song? They were playing a special tribute to him. I picked that one, and it was the song has just stayed with me. I've continued to play it in my shows.
Yep. Okay. And the other thing I saw that you've done more recently was a tribute to John Denver as well. Was that in the States that you did that?
No, I did that here.
Yeah.
We had a couple of seasons with that. I had a really beautiful band, and we just played 20 of his songs, and it was called The John Denver Story. Obviously not a tribute in the way that we were paying tribute to his music and his life story. It was a narrative concert, so I was telling his life story as we go along, and performing the songs. And so it wasn't an impersonation of John, not that kind of tribute. But it was really enjoyable. I just have so much admiration and respect for the guy. He wrote timeless classics, and they've stood the test of time.
Iconic songs as well.
Iconic songs.
Went too early. He could have. What more could he have done?
Yeah, I know. He was, I think, quite. He'd done so much in his career, and he liked to be busy, and I think things slowed down a bit for him towards the end, and
okay. All right, so now you've released a new album. It's called The Water's Edge, and it's your first studio album in 8 years. Is this correct?
Well, of original material, it would be. Yeah. I did a greatest hits acoustic album, so I re-recorded, some of my old material.
Right. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, and I think that came out 2008.
Okay.
So and then 2010, I think we come with the Water's Edge album.
Mm-hmm. And what can you tell us about the album? Is it a change in a little bit of a change in style for you? You've gone more the blues.
It's
and,
a little warmer, a little rootsier, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little warmer, a little rootsier.
Okay, and the single from the album is "I'm Coming Home."
I'm coming home.
In relation to something, like coming back to Australia or anything?
No, it's a song about being out on the road and looking forward to coming home to your girlfriend, your wife, your lover, whatever. The people that love you. But it's it's specifically about a guy he's out on the road, and he's saying, I love what I do. But it's another town. It's just me and this suitcase, and and it's lonely sometimes, and I wonder what I'm doing out here, and then I call home and I connect with you, and I can't wait to see it.
Now, this, as I said before, my co-host is not here today, but yesterday we sat down and we were looking at some things about you on the net, and these days, kind of the essential way to research an interview is using the internet, and certainly we've done that. It's the modern way of conducting research, but something we found out recently is you can't always trust it. It's lied to us before.
Yeah.
And apparently you can't believe everything you read on Wikipedia.
Yes.
We've been caught out with this recently. Actually, we interviewed a band the other day, and we accused the big tough Maori drummer guy of once belonging to a New Zealand boy band, so that didn't go down too well.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
So today, if you're happy to oblige us for a moment, rather than getting burnt again, we've decided that the only person that really knows about you is you.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do to try and get the facts right, we've put a little quiz game show kind of thing together.
Oh, okay.
So we've got a couple of questions for you, and we've called this game show "The Rick Price is Right."
Okay.
Yes. So
that's original.
Yes. Based on the very popular game show. So we've got just a couple of quick questions for you, and you can tell us if this is true or not. These things are true. Now, Wikipedia lists you as a multi-instrumentalist. So they claim you can play up to 5 instruments. Can you tell us, is this true, and what are the instruments?
Yeah, I do play some different instruments, rhythm section instruments mostly, piano, drums, bass, guitar.
Yep.
And I flirt with a few other things, harmonica.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that's all true. Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Now
tick that one.
Tick that off. Wikipedia also states that while doing a tour of Europe, you also did 100 interviews and 20 TV appearances. Were you tired from doing this?
I was absolutely insane with lack of sleep, I think.
Yeah.
You go to another time zone, and with a really hefty schedule like that, it's very taxing. But I got through it, and I was, I was a pretty young man at that time, so I was able to handle it. But I remember getting back, and my manager and I sitting down together and saying, "We're never doing that.
Never again." I can't believe 100 interviews. I mean, how long was that?
I can't say if that's statistically true, because I don't know how many there were.
Right.
But I remember just being all over the place,
Okay, all right. Now, Wikipedia also states that you were once part of a New Zealand boy band. No, hang on. That's
and that you're in fact a Maori drummer.
I've got that in there again. Okay, finally, the last question. Now, The Price is Right. It always ended with like a guessing game of higher and lower.
Oh, okay.
So we've got one here for you. The song Heaven Knows, it entered the charts at what number? Was it higher than 4 or lower than 2?
It entered the charts?
Entered the charts, apparently, yeah. Well, this is according to Wikipedia, so it might not be correct.
Oh, well, it got to the number 2 position, I know that.
So it got to number 2, but so it got.
I don't know where it went in, but it got to number 2.
Okay, well, we'll say that was close enough. That was right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. There we go. Thanks for playing a part of our little quiz there.